In recent years, advanced technology has paradoxically enough added dangerously to the hazards to wildlife and environments by the introduction of chemical pesticides and herbicides in the campaign to grow more food for the burgeoning human population. By the poisonous pollution these have brought about of water, earth, and air, they are boomeranging on man himself. A pesticide is any substance or mixture of substances intended for preventing, destroying, repelling, or mitigating any pest. Pests can be defined as an organism that causes plant diseases. Agricultural pesticides are then those chemicals that are used by farmers to prevent the effectivity of the pests on the growth and productivity of agricultural crops. Although there are benefits to the use of pesticides, there have also been many problems associated with their use. When pesticides are used, do not always stay in the location where they are applied. They are mobile in the environment and often move through water, air, and soil. The problem with pesticide mobility is that when they travel, the pesticides come in contact with other organisms and can cause harm. Pesticides have also been shown to disrupt the balance of an ecosystem. In many situations, when a pesticide is used, it also kills non-pest organisms. This can drastically alter the natural balance of the ecosystem. By removing non-pest organisms, the environment can be changed to favor the pest. In addition to causing harm to wildlife, pesticides that travel from their original location are known to cause harm to humans. Human exposure to pesticide has caused poisonings, the development of cancer, and the deaths of between 20,000 and 40,000 people worldwide each year. Another major problem associated with pesticide use is bioaccumulation and biological magnification. Bioaccumulation is when a substance builds up in the body because the body does not have the proper mechanisms to remove it. Many synthetic pesticides are not able to be broken down. Once they enter the body of an organism, they are permanently stored in the body tissue. The pesticides that accumulate in an organism's body can cause harm to the organism or can be passed on to a predator. Due to the fact that the pesticides are integrated into the tissue of an organism, when it is consumed by a predator, the pesticides are transferred. As the predator consumes more exposed individuals, the concentration of pesticides in their own body will increase. Organisms that are higher in the food chain will have increased concentrations of pesticides because they consumed many lower level organisms and received the pesticides stored in those organisms. Biological magnification, also known as biomagnification, is the term used to describe these chemicals. In this case, pesticides increase in concentration with each level of the food chain. A famous example of biomagnification is with the pesticide known as DDT. Starting in the 1950s, this pesticide was used to kill mosquitoes and sprayed on crops to kill pests. DDT got into the water supply and was integrated into the bodies of zooplankton, which were then consumed by small fish and then larger fish. Eventually, the larger fish were eaten by predatory birds, and due to the biomagnification of the pesticide, the birds were killed by the large concentration of pesticides that accumulated in their bodies. This led to the near extinction of several predatory birds, including the bald eagle and peregrine falcon. Pesticides became common after the Second World War. As part of the war effort was scientific research into a way to end hunger, that is, pesticides and the increasing productivity and availability of food production with their help. Currently, an estimated 3.2 million tons of pesticides are used each year. Pesticides are wasted in environments where the farmer has little knowledge or care for the detrimental effects of the pesticides. Without regulations and enforcements, these pesticides can easily be spread farther than their intended area. This is especially common in developing countries. With misuse, the pesticides can easily be picked up by the rainwater and washed into the streams as runoff. Pesticides can enter the human body through inhalation, ingestion, or by dermal penetration. Those who work with agricultural pesticides are the most at risk if they are not properly dressed or if there are broken and leaking equipments. The majority of average citizens who are affected by the pesticides intake the pesticides through consumption of a food that was contaminated with the pesticide. Pesticides cause headaches, blurred vision, vomiting, abdominal pain, suppress the immune system, lead to blood and liver diseases, depression, asthma, and nerve damage. The issue with these effects is that they may appear until a while after being ingested, so tracing the symptoms back to the pesticide can prove to be quite difficult. Many of the symptoms can be mistaken for the flu and therefore not properly treated. The inactive ingredients such as chloroform can also cause serious risks to the liver and nervous system. These effects can also be experienced by the animals living around the streams where the pesticides accumulate. The pesticides bioaccumulate within the animal as they are not easily soluble. As that animal is eaten by another animal, the pesticide then biomagnifies and obtains an even higher concentration as it moves further up the food chain. Whatever conservation measures are now undertaken or may be undertaken in the future can be expected to function as no more than stopgaps and no permanent remedy for the ecological imbalance can be devised unless and until the human population is effectively contained. The easiest way to prevent the spread and abundance of agricultural pesticides is through education. If more farmers, especially in developing countries, knew about the risks of these pesticides, they would be more careful in the way that they use the pesticides and the protection that the sprayers wear. Another way is to adopt the integrated pesticide management program, which emphasizes non-chemical and cultural pest control strategies such as removal of diseased plant parts, crop rotation that may disrupt the lifestyle of pests, and biological control such as use of insect predators. Still, population control is the only most effective solution. This, then, is the problem. Unless man is able to discipline himself, there is no hope of avoiding the ecological disaster towards which he is rapidly heading. In order to restore and regulate the ecological balance, conservation now demands that the human population be drastically controlled, not only for the wise use of the available natural resources, but for the very existence of man himself. Overpopulation is an undesirable condition where the number of existing human population exceeds the actual carrying capacity of Earth. Overpopulation is caused by a number of factors: reduced mortality rate, better medical facilities, depletion of precious resources are few of the causes which result in overpopulation. It is possible for a populated area to become densely populated if it is not able to sustain life. Growing advances in technology with each coming year has affected humanity in many ways. One of these has been the ability to save lives and create a better medical treatment for all. The direct result of this has been the increased lifespan and the growth of population. The need of the hour is family planning. It refers to services which are defined as educational, comprehensive, medical, or social activities which enable individuals, including minors, to determine freely the number and spacing of their children and to select the means by which this may be achieved. India was the first country in the world to have launched a national program for family planning in 1952. To find the remedies, one must examine the causes. The evolution of man, unlike that of other animals, has above all been the evolution of his brain. This is what has enabled him to overcome the limitations natural to other animals. He meets and deals with his environment at two levels. Firstly, the intellectual, aided by the vast area of knowledge available to him because of his intellect, and secondly, the physical level, in which he is in no way different from other animals. In a subject so old, so vast, and so continually new, it seems to be impossible to keep science and social life apart. In fact, we should not try to do so. Continuance of our human society depends upon our ability to heed the science of the rest of nature and live within its bounds. There are at least three good reasons for surveying the present state of affairs and learning about our natural environment. First, our advancing technology uses up resources in increasing quantity. Second, our increasing population puts annually greater pressure upon our living space. Third, our continued existence depends upon our keeping our natural environment productive of the essentials of life. Over and above the slow changes by natural causes such as climate, the earth has suffered measureless destruction of animals and plants by the uncalculating actions of both savage and civilized men. It was the destruction of their environment that caused salmon to disappear from Lake Ontario, and the bison to die off our western plains, and the passenger pigeon to vanish from North America. Forests have been burnt, and soil has been washed away, deserts have been produced, and rivers have been polluted. Nature has its laws designed to maintain balance. If the number of any living species tends to increase out of proportion, some force will arise to control it. There is an equilibrium in undisturbed nature between food and feeder, hunter and prey, so that the resources of the earth are never idle. Some animals or plants may seem to dominate the rest, but they do so only for as long as the general balance exists. These laws cannot be disregarded without disaster. Nature, which is our world for the total of conditions and principles which influence the existence of living things, will not accept ignorance of her laws as an excuse for breaking them. Nature's law does not command us to do or to refrain from doing anything. It merely states that a living being does so and so, then the result will be such and such. If we wish to avoid disability, pain, and dissolution, we must pay attention to the warning.